So, One and Many has been written by Indu. Indu is an editor with Eklavya, and she approached me with this book, which is really a very, very simple book, and it just talks about the one and many in our lives. And when you think about it, there's so many things that are one and many. There's one room and there's a tree outside with millions of leaves, and then you go into a classroom and there's tens of children in that. So she just wanted to simply bring out the diversity or the one and many in the world that we see around us. The rhyme is not the rhyme, the text is very, very simple. And when I read the text, I realized that each picture that goes along with it had to tell a story. That a child had to be able to look at a page and see not only the many that the text was talking about, but also see how the many were connected and the stories behind the many. So each picture in itself should be a story in itself, and that was the idea behind One and Many. With the One and Many, I was very lucky because Indu had such complete faith in me. She said, "You do what you want to do," and it's liberating because then I can interpret the text in the way that I want to, and it was easy. Some of the illustrations lent themselves to pictures. So we're a family of animal lovers. We're constantly picking up strays and feeding the squirrels and the crows and the cats, and we have quite a menagerie at home. So when it came to illustrating the page, let me show it to you. One soap and many bubbles. There were various ways I could go about it, but we had just brought home our latest stray puppy, and she was one of a litter of 11. And I remember our earlier dog, who had sadly passed away a year earlier, she was a litter of about 7, and we had picked her and all her siblings off the road and brought them home and bathed them and fleed them in order to find them homes. So we were prettying them up to find good homes, which we did. And my current dog Lulu was also one of a litter of 11. So I said, this picture has to be one of children and dogs and bubbles and, taking a bath. And that's how this picture came about. So some pictures are very easy to do. There was one picture that I struggled with for a very long time, and that was the one about one sun and many shadows. And I did many attempts at illustrating that, and I thought maybe I should have a sun and the globe, and there would be a moving sun and shadows lengthening and things like that. And then I said, it doesn't go with the rest of the pictures that tell a story. It has to be a scene where you can ask, who are these people and what are they doing and where are they? And so after many attempts, and in fact the rest of the pictures have been ready, and I told the publishers, Tulika, I said, I'm stuck on this, give me a couple more days to figure out how to do this. Then I thought to myself, what am I doing? Where is a place where it is hot and you would find deep shadows and openness? So I said, okay, so it has to be set in a desert somewhere. And then the picture came to me. So you had the child who was making finger shadows on the wall, and the lengthening shadows of the tree and the birds up in the air, and also the little boy using a shadow to scare off a little dog. The Sometimes I know people wonder, okay, it's a simple text, and what about all this that goes along with it? My feeling has always been that you don't need to explain things. All you need to do is give a picture book into the hands of the child, and the child will always tell you what he or she sees, and they will weave stories around it. I've known children weave stories, entire stories that have gone on and on over one single frame. So the attempt is to provide that impetus, just to provide that start, so that children can talk and weave stories. And it's great to have people like Tulika who also give you that latitude to interpret the story, and somebody like Indu who was a dream, who just said, do what you want, I trust you. I think it's, for me, it's very important that I draw the world that I know. The world that I know is the one around me. So even the illustration of the rain, where we have one umbrella and many raindrops. The building that I showed was the building that I see around me in Bombay, and also the old chawl type of homes that I see around me. If I don't know a place, if I don't, or if I'm not able, it's not that one can't or doesn't draw situations or environments one doesn't know about, and you can always imagine a place that people live in. But I think that the most identification comes, you love the characters that you know, and for me this is the world that I know. And if it's only if I draw the world that I know, that I can people it with characters that I know. And when there are characters that I know, then every character comes with his or her own idiosyncrasies and feelings and attitudes and postures and behavior and all that. And that's what really makes a story. If I'm alienated from the characters that I draw or from the place that I draw, then they will not be true, and the children are going to see it. One of my favorite illustrators is Madhuri Purandare. And what I love about Madhuri is that she knows the world that she creates so intimately, that when she talks about an aji or an uncle or a cousin, even if she's talking about really simple things like a fracture or a gift or a tantrum, those people are there in front of you, and you can see them. And I think that's what happens when an artist taps into the world that they know and doesn't just try to illustrate the words, but tries to pull the illustrations out of an environment that they understand intimately. I'm constantly surprised by what children see and what they focus upon when they see a picture. It's sometimes it's a revelation, because they see the smallest thing in a picture. They see the humor, they see the animals, things that an adult may not normally point out at the first instance. For me, it doesn't matter what the child sees at first. If a child can go back again and again to the book and each time see something new, then I feel somewhere that my job is done. If the child looks at the book once and then puts it away and doesn't want to, and says, okay, I've read the book, then I would feel that I've failed at my duty at communicating. But the idea is to be able to give the child enough to want to come back and say, I saw a little dog in that picture of the play going on, and somebody, did you see a dog? I didn't see a dog. Where was the dog? I saw only the little girl with the wand. Was there a girl with the wand? I didn't see a girl with the wand. So if there's sufficient interest, if a child can go back again to the picture, then I feel that that's good. That's all I want. One thing I'd like to see both parents and teachers do is to give the children time to look at the picture. That time has to be allowed. It's not just, okay, you read the text and this is the picture and let's turn on to the next page. Unfortunately, we're living in a time when the children have so many things to distract them. There's the TV, there's also iPads, there's all sorts of things which are constantly distracting. So the attention span of a child is constantly being cut down and made shorter and shorter. So, to focus attention on a particular picture, asking simple questions like, oh, what do you think is happening in this picture, or why is the girl looking happy, or do you think it's summer? When do we get to eat perus? Do we get perus? Do we get? Shall we go to the market and see if we can get perus, guavas to eat now? Which shall we go and see if they're there in the market? Or do you remember the play you did at school? What were the costumes that you wore? Simple questions to get the children to not only notice the picture but to relate it to their own lives, because somewhere children should also be able to associate with the picture and say, I like this because I could be that little boy, or we did something like that. And that is, I think, what extends a picture, that is what extends the book. And both teachers and parents can do it. Parents, of course, are in a better position because they're doing it one-on-one. And when they're sitting down with a book with a child, they have that liberty to do one page at a time if they want to, or 2 pages, and come back and ask all sorts of questions. The thing is also not to overdo the questions bit, because you don't want to make it into an examination to find out how much the child knows and make it into a test. The idea is to just encourage the child and guide the child by a few questions to explore things and not quickly just turn the pages over. Reading a picture is as important as reading a book, and I think that that's a skill that we all need to spend a little time developing.